Hey guys, this is Samuel T. Geek, and today I want to talk about YouTube censorship. In case you guys didn't know, I was censored on YouTube recently. A lot of people don't know about this because I wanted to go through the appeal process and see if I could get all of that stuff restored. It did happen, but I also want to talk about how extremists are using this new moderation that YouTube is trying to do to combat extremists to actually bolster their message. As someone who's been involved in politics a long time, I can tell you that there is no better boogeyman for extremist politicians than the establishment or some shadowy unknown figure or institution that they could rail against. And YouTube has been trying to fight extremism on their platform, but has unintentionally bolstered it and has gotten people who are somewhat normal to take the position that a lot of these extremists have, which ultimately leads them to be more familiar with extremist content, more likely to adopt some of their views, and more likely to spread some of the misinformation that they promote. In fact, one creator that I was really a big fan of for a long time until he started, kind of posting this misinformation was this guy named the Cynical historian. He's actually the son of one of the Pawn Star guys, experts. He was a UNM grad student, and he made some really interesting videos. I first found him about 2 or 3 years ago, and I really enjoyed his content, but then he made this hour-long video about how YouTube hates leftists and that they're aiding fascists through their censorship program of historical channels. Now, YouTube and historical channels do have a huge beef because historical channels often have to use imagery from some of the extreme groups in the past, which violates YouTube's terms of services because YouTube's terms of services are trying to find, new extremist content and extreme creators and tried to stop them from doing stuff on their platform, and these guys unwillingly get caught up in that. And I was sort of a victim of this. In case you guys don't know, a couple of years ago, a decade ago, my friend Jeff Mendocino had some troubles with his YouTube account, and he decided to use my YouTube account to upload some of his videos. I know a lot of my fans weren't big on that. I was a more mild-tone, mannered creator, and Jeff had more of an extreme, edgy point of view, and was mostly making his videos to entertain and laugh, and were comedic, and my videos usually weren't. So it caused a little bit of beef with my audience back then. But he uploaded these videos, and one of those videos was World's Longest Headshot in Fallout 3. It was this hilarious video, and it's still up now. You can go look it up. But basically, it had nothing to do with Fallout. It had nothing to do with the World's Longest Headshot. It was just a long intro video, and it was parrying this thing that was happening at the time where a lot of 12-year-olds would make, Dragon Ball Z or Halo 2 videos and weirdly, bizarrely, say support our troops and rest in peace 9/11 and all this other stuff. And he took that and threw some of that imagery into this video. Well, that video was uploaded over a decade ago, 12-something years ago, and YouTube's censorship algorithm picked it up as a potential terrorist video because it used images of 9/11. And that caused my YouTube account to lose all partnership and monetization privileges and put a strike on my channel and all this other crap. And I was like, oh my God. Look, I'm probably one of the furthest things there is away from an Al-Qaeda terrorist. So I appealed the strike, and at first I was actually rejected. YouTube came back and said, no, this is extremist content. Your strike will remain. You're done, buddy. And I was like, okay. And, no love lost. YouTube has been really crappy for me for a long time. I basically wrote off any chance of ever getting the amount of views necessary to restore my YouTube channel to the way it was. But it was what it was. But silently, about a month ago, apparently, I was talking to my friends about this happening. I was talking about how crazy it was. And I looked, and everything silently had been restored, even though I was rejected. And I was like, wow. Yeah, I got no email or response saying that I was cleared of all this stuff. No notification on YouTube when I logged into the app. But it was all restored. And that was crazy. It is kind of crazy how YouTube treats their creators, especially if this is your job, if you're making money off of it, which I don't recommend. I've said this several times. Basically, people who can make money off YouTube are unicorns. They're lottery winners. Please do not try to make a living off YouTube unless it happens to you, because it's almost impossible. Despite what all of these people and what magazines, TV, and all this stuff tell you, YouTube is almost entirely impossible to make a living off of. So only do so if you can see, that it's feasible. But anyway, Cynical Historian, he's just one example of like a normal-ish YouTuber who decided to change their content from what they originally intended the channel for to more political stuff. And it's the left-wing justification of the facade of neutrality hurts their own message, and there's no such thing as a good neutral or moderate personality in times of peril, or whatever justification they use to finally say, take the mask off and say, hey guys, look, I'm an extreme left-wing creator, and I've basically only made these objective content because I figured that's how you could be successful. And or more likely, they had some left-wing views, and over time, overexposure to more radicalist content, decided that they were more left-wing than they originally were. And you've seen this happen. You've seen it with Big Joel. You've seen it with Cynical Historian now, and you've seen it with, what is that guy's name? Knowing Better is another example. There's people who've just said, forget objectivism. I'm going full into my bias of politics, and I understand that. I'm ideological too. I'm an ideological guy. I'm just a conservative, and I know where these people come from. But there's nothing that people on the far ends of the spectrum love more than a boogeyman. And you see Cynical's Historian going out there now saying that basically YouTube is promoting fascism through its censorship, when the reality is there's a much easier, more rational explanation to all of this. Do I think YouTubers are targeting, 15-year content creators who haven't uploaded anything in a year and are, right of center creators and neoconservative? No. I don't think YouTube is targeting neoconservative, Hispanic, overweight men who haven't uploaded anything in a year and have been on their platform for 15 years. The reality is YouTube took on scope creep, okay? They took on a project that was way out of their range. We talk about it in project management classes all the time. YouTube took on an impossible project. The impossible project, moderating content on YouTube. They can't moderate it. There's just way too much content being uploaded, and the type of content that's produced takes a long time to moderate because you actually have to watch the video to completion to make sure that nothing crazy is being said. You also have to get familiar with terminology to understand, because a lot of these extremist groups will create alternative terms to hide the fact that they are saying something extreme so that they can wink and nod and dog whistle to their audience about what type of content that they're saying and what type of things they're doing. You often see it on the right and on the left, constantly changing terms. It's a tactic of extreme groups all over the world. And, you have to have a moderator that's able to detect that, able to do all this. And let's be honest, a lot of these big companies, they pay these moderators nothing. They pay them like 40 grand, and they have to live in one of the most expensive cities in the United States. And they have to do arguably one of the most horrible jobs there is. And, because of that, they have to cheat. They cheat by making algorithms and AI matching and content matching, which catches a bunch of stuff in the process. And instead of critiquing that, which we should be doing, we should be saying YouTube needs to actually buckle down and find better ways to manage the moderation of their content. They need to pay these moderators better. They need to maybe allow them to work from home or some other way to make things more comfortable, to attract more people to the job, because it is an incredibly time-consuming job, and there's just not enough people to do it. So YouTube needs to find ways to do this better. But that's what the critique should be saying. Instead, everything has to be this secret, shadowy organization targeting them specifically because their views are so dangerous or interesting. Fact is, all of these guys are just making money off this stuff. It's all a grift. All of it. They know that people who are attracted to extreme views tend to be very, very loyal customers. And they will continue to come back to their content over and over and over and over again, just obsessively watching, obsessively buying ad revenue, because people who are heavily invested in something often have what's called gambler's fallacy, which allows them to basically continue to bet on their beliefs, continue to want to listen to people who agree with them, and continue to give them content. Moderates just aren't great consumers. That's the reality. Moderates tend to be more politically apathetic. Politics doesn't tend to consume their lives completely, and they tend to be, more varied in the things that they enjoy. They aren't whales to a lot of content, they're fish. And extremists need whales to survive. That's just the reality of the situation. So they must be persecuted, because persecution builds loyalty. So please don't fall for the trap of your favorite YouTubers. Even if you agree with their opinions, understand that they are marketing. It's all marketing. Anyway, keep your heads on out there, guys. So good to see you. Samuel out.